Well, it's bloody freezing cold today. It is, what, 6 degrees out there in here today. I'm full of cold still, and I thought it was about time that I did a little bit of kind of, you know, that sort of thing you do on the bike when it's too cold to go out, and or you're not feeling. Probably today, with all the heater gear that I've got, I could have gone out actually if I wasn't absolutely full of bloody cold like I am. But instead I'm going to be doing a bit of this stuff. So I'm going to be putting a bit of ACF50 on and just showing you how I do it. So the way I do it is I use a brush to put it on, because then it saves you wasting loads of it and it getting all over the place where you don't want it to be. And basically what I do is I take the ACF50, give it a good shake. In fact, this can's nearly empty now. In fact, it's, yeah, pretty much is empty, and it's just about run out that can. So get another can. First of all, as always with these sorts of cans, what I'm going to do as well as shaking it up is just put it in front of the fan heater. If I can get down and the dog gets out of the way, just put it in front of the fan heater for a little bit there to let it get a little bit warmer than it is first of all. Once that's warmed up a little bit, we're going to be going around the bike and getting it on all those sort of metally bits to start with, giving it a bit of a coating on there. So that's what we're going to do very soon. Okay, so that's now warmed up reasonably. We don't want to get it too hot because I don't want to get the I don't want to sort of have it exploding or anything weird. So I'm just going to then spray that, like getting it over the lens. Keep shaking it a little bit as we go. And I like to get a fair bit into this little container. Again, this is just my way of doing it. You might want to do it differently. You might spray it on directly, but this is the way I do it. So get that kind of about half full like that, and then we start applying it with the brush. So, and apologies for the noise of the fan heater, get a reasonable amount on the brush and then just sort of take a little bit back off again. And then what we're going to do is just gently apply it. Now, as you can see, it sort of splodges on quite a bit. So what we have to do is first of all apply it, but then later, once it's all sort of settled on there, and it's a case sometimes getting up, if I can get the camera up there, in all the sort of nooks and crannies as well, but without getting it onto any of the brake calipers or brake discs or anything like that, because you really don't want to have this stuff getting onto the brake discs. See, I'm not covering it, and the reason why I'm not covering it is because I'm actually brushing it on gently rather than spraying it. If you were spraying it on, you absolutely would have to cover all of the brake discs and around the brake pads and the calipers and stuff to avoid getting any on there. This way it just helps a little bit because you don't get any down there if you're very careful as you're doing it. So I'll carry on doing that around the whole of the bike. Okay, so it's later on now, the same day, and basically what we've got is a load of ACF50 slapped all over the metal bits of the bike. You can probably see that kind of sheen sticks there and stays there, and it doesn't sort of disappear off things unless you kind of wipe it off. And even if you leave it on there for quite a while, it sort of has like a, it's not a sticky residue, but it's not really a clean finish, so you end up with everything sort of being covered in this kind of greasy mess unless you go around with a cloth and clean it off. So that's what we're going to do now, is a nice clean rag, nice clean cloth, and actually just literally, if I can get rid of my dog out of the way, is literally go around and just wipe off that excess residue. No, don't sort of go too heavy on it, just a nice gentle wipe away of any of the excess stuff that's on there. And that's all we're trying to do to avoid getting anything like that, any bits of that residue onto the brakes or onto the calipers or onto the discs, where it will completely ruin your pads. This ACF50 stuff, so you've really got to avoid letting it drip or drain or blow or just sort of centrifugal force when the wheel starts spinning. The bike starts to vibrate, to prevent any of that ACF50 getting down onto those discs, pads or calipers. You just need to avoid that area entirely. So that's what I've got to do. I mean, that's pretty much what happens, and how I do ACF50 on my bike. Now, as I say, other people will strip the bike down completely and have it sort of washed off, and mine was already washed off and cleaned off in the garage sitting here anyway, given I've not really used it very much at all recently. And it really did just require this gentle coating, and that will give it good enough coating to sort of go out. Now, if it was absolutely peeing it down and it was wet through outside after the roads have been salted, I'd still avoid it anyway. So, you know, I'm not going to really go out there and give the bike a lot of hassle, giving it a lot of salt and road grit and stuff. It just is something that I will avoid anyway. So this is just a nice little coating to prevent it from getting too much of the stuff on the roads, too much of the stuff in even just sitting in the garage. Bikes can get a sort of a layer of damp on them over winter, which can do quite a bit of damage actually. You get quite a lot of oxidization, quite a lot of rust can appear on bikes. Even the BMWs that I had never seemed to do that, but certainly the Yamaha MT-09 last year was covered in rust areas, even after coating it with ACF50. I couldn't stop everything from going rusty, but it is worth a try. Don't know what the Ducati is going to be like, don't know how that's going to stand up between the sort of way the Yamaha went and the way the BMWs used to seem to stay perfectly fine. But even, like, you know, the discs on the Yamaha would start to rust last year. Now, I know we had a sort of a particularly damp winter period last year, and it could have been something to do with that, don't know. But certainly comparing the BM with the Yamaha, and they were standing side by side in the garage. That was the S1000R and the Yamaha MT-09. The MT-09 definitely started to see lots of signs of going rusty, whereas the BM didn't whatsoever. So, don't know. Somebody said it was the type of steel, the quality of steel that's used. Not sure exactly. I know enough about it to comment, but it's always been one of those things I've done, is this ACF50 stuff. Not everybody does it, and I know people who commute on their bikes through winter don't always do it. They just trust in washing it off after each ride. But you know what it's like sometimes if you get home late, and because it's darker and it's winter, you're not always in the mood to completely wash off the bike, and sort of then you start thinking, well, I'll give it a quick rinse off with a hose pipe, and you can get into sort of trouble fairly quickly. If you're going to be spending 20 grand or whatever amount of money you're spending on a bike, definitely do try to look after it. And I think ACF50 does sort of add to some of that protection. Anyway, that is it for this little video. I'll work my way around the bike now, finish it off by continuing to use the old rag and give it a clean. In the meantime, from me, ride safe if you ride bikes, or take care whatever you do, and shortly, hopefully, I'll have a biking video pretty soon. Bye bye for now.